morning, viewers. Welcome to NOA River State Dialogue. This is a weekly sensitization program of the National Orientation Agency, River State. Today, we're going to be taking on a discussion on the topic, the impact of youth participation in governance and economic development. Pursuant to the National Orientation Agency's ongoing nationwide youth summit, which held in Port Harcourt yesterday, we have some youths in the studio this morning to discuss on how our youths can participate in governance and economic development of a nation. Now, young people are a valuable asset to their countries, and investing in them brings tremendous social and economic benefits. It becomes imperative and justified for the National Orientation Agency to engage with the youths at all levels of society and give the necessary feedback to government on the way forward for the Nigerian youth. And so I have here with me in the studio this morning, to my right, Mr. Obaro Umokoro.
Thank you.
He's a staff of the National Orientation Agency, River State. He's a young person. And I have to my left, Mr. Christopher Anumudu, a vibrant youth. Welcome.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here this morning. So, who is a youth? Let me start with you, Mr. Okoro. Who is a youth?
A youth is basically a young person.
Okay.
Youth also stands for a period between adolescence and adulthood. So youth basically is a transition from childhood, adolescence into adulthood.
Okay.
So that is a period. And for terms of a person, describing a person, a youth is a young person.
Okay. Do you agree with that? So you have a different
In addition to what he has said, from my own point of view, the youthful stage, let me use that word.
Okay, youthful stage, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The youthful stage represents the apex of an individual's physical ability.
Okay.
It comprises, is a period whereby it has to do with the social, the economic, and the physical makeup of that person. The youth also represents strength, the dignity, and honor of a country.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's the age bracket you are looking at here?
Well, it varies.
Why?
Depending on the society.
Okay.
United Nations has said a young person is anyone aged between 15, a youth rather, is anyone aged between 15 to 24.
Mm-hmm.
Some societies extend it to 30. Some societies extend it to 40. Yeah, because depending on the social, political, and economic realities of every society, some society will want to keep the young person in a limbo by telling him that he's a youth until he's 40. But the earlier you understand that youthfulness, I think when you're about 25 heading towards 30, you should discard that idea of youthfulness in terms of being very young.
Okay.
You are transiting already to adulthood and you should begin to take bold steps.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you agree? Do you have a different opinion about that? What's the age limit we are looking at here?
Just like he has said once again, it varies according to societies and nations.
Okay.
Like for countries in Asia and South America, in their own society, they believe that the youth falls within the age bracket of 15 to 35.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in our context, for Sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria to be precise, our nation, the youth represents the age between 18 to 35.
Okay.
So if you are within that age limit, 18 to 35, you are considered a youth in Nigeria.
Okay.
And that is why, according to the Nigerian Constitution, once you are 18, you are eligible to vote and be voted for.
Okay.
Because at that point, you're seen as a youth whereby you're able to take up some decisions and assume some responsibility in the society.
Okay. Now, according to Nigerian youth policy, it states that a young person between 19 and 29. Okay, 19, 29. I think that's about that. So now, let's look coming down to Nigeria. You understand? What's your perception? Putting Nigeria into consideration, will you look at it that way? That a 19-year or 18, like you said, eligible to vote, right? We have people that are 60-year-olds that say they are youth in this nation. What's your take on that?
Well, we have this balance that this person is a youth at heart. So youthfulness and being young basically is a thing of the mind. But I think when we are looking at
that's your own perception, or
if a man in his 60s says he's a youth, I will not take away his youthfulness from him. But when it comes to deploying youth towards achieving some goals in a country, in a society, he knows that the only person he is youthful to rather is himself and those who believe in his inner circle. But larger society will not see him as a young person. But I would not take a man's right to youthfulness from him. So basically he's a youth as he claims to himself and by himself. Yeah, but when it comes to larger societal endeavors, serious business, we won't consider him a youth.
But that's not what we are seeing in the country today, is it?
No.
Okay.
For me, in my own perspective, for someone to actually say, or to, in his or her 60s, say he or she is a youth, there should be a little bit of discrepancy.
Okay.
Yes.
Why do you say so?
The youth, actually, or in basic terms, has to do with the period of one's apex physical strength.
Okay.
Now, there's a difference between what somebody in his or her 60s can do and what the other person or a man in his early 20s to 30s can actually achieve. Now, at that point in time, the person in his 60s has certain limitations in achieving some certain things in terms of physical pursuits. But for the person in his prime 20s and 30s, it's different. So the youth, like I actually did define earlier on, that the youthful stage is the apex physical strength of a person. It comprises of both the physical, the emotional, and the social makeup. Yes, of that person. So when you look at it, you find that the thinking faculty of the man in his 60s is different from that person in that age bracket. Yes. So because of the difference in their thinking faculties, it also affects their perception and how they see or do things.
Okay. Now let's for this discussion, let's narrow it down to, let's say 18 to let's make our own age limit now. In our discussion, let's say 18 to 30, right? Okay, or we should extend it.
Let's extend it to capture me. So let's just take it from 18 to 37. So I'm captured here.
So that I'm captured. Okay, fine. Now, let's look at our society today. What are the challenges facing the youth?
Well, I think in our society today, the Nigerian youth is a survivor, in that the Nigerian youth is daily faced with hurdles, with bottlenecks that are geared to frustrate his progress and growth as an individual. But we must laud the effort of the Nigerian youth in daily overcoming these encumbrances, these challenges, and trying, in spite or despite all odds, against all odds, to try to come out of it stronger and better. So I think the Nigerian youth, given a more fair or a fairer platform will do a lot better and be a lot better. So I would say the Nigerian youth is one who is trying against all odds to be better.
Okay. So what are some of these challenges that these youths face too? What are they?
All right. From my own perspective, when we're talking about the youth in Nigeria, like they say that if you're able to survive in Nigeria, you can do, or
you can survive anywhere.
You can survive anywhere in the world. Our system, for the greater part of it, has not really encouraged the youth to harness the potential
that they have.
Yes, because we are filled with so much potential, so much to give, but being limited due to some socio-economic issues affecting us. Like you did say, you did ask the question, what are some of the challenges the youth? One of it I'll actually pinpoint is lack of resources or resource constraint. Let me put it that way, resource constraint, because we find out that both governments and NGOs, government agencies and NGOs, so far as I can remember, they've been able to come up with projects and schemes to support or to empower the youth. But you find out that because of limited resources, because of limited funds, such cannot really go far. It can only, cover just a select few.
A select few of the youth.
A select few. So how about others? Today we have in our country whereby every year the Nigerian universities, they graduate thousands of youth yearly. Thousands of youth yearly. Now it's not just about going to get the head knowledge or book knowledge. Another thing is inappropriate skills. Yes.
Inappropriate skills.
Yes, inappropriate skills. So our educational system has not been able to equip the youth, like teachers, life skills. It goes beyond just what you read theoretically. What about the life skills? So many youth, at the end of the day, once they graduate, they are not able to cope in the labor market because they don't have that life skills. It's just recently, like a few years ago, that some universities have started coming up with what we call entrepreneurship programs, like entrepreneurship courses. So maybe like if you're in your final year, before you graduate, you're expected to do one or two entrepreneurial courses just to learn some skills as well. For me, I feel that learning that at a tertiary level, it's a little bit. One may not be able to grab as much as.
Yeah, you feel it's too late.
Yeah, too late, because if it starts from the secondary, let's say from the secondary, our educational system is such that it captures such programs where we get to learn life skills. The youth will be able to do well, and we're able to fit in properly in the labor market.
But I want to ask, do you think our youths are ready for this? Because we're talking about, our topic is about the impact of the youth on the understand. So do you think our youths really want to be engaged? Or they are after the get-rich-quick syndrome, and so that is why, because I expected you guys to have mentioned, we're talking about the challenges we face now. Okay, let's go take it beyond the challenges faced by the youth. What are the challenges these youths cause in our society today? I want to disagree with you guys now that it goes beyond just the resources not being there for them. You understand? What about, we hear now what is trending, Yahoo, get rich quick syndrome. The boy in secondary school wants to get so much money and buy a car, and live large. That's why I'm asking, if you think these youths are really ready to be engaged?
I was going to get to that point because, like you said, there are the two sides to a coin. Most of our youths, they have the mentality of instant gratification. Yes, in the sense that, find it difficult to do something for free. There must always be an incentive attached to it. And if it is not, what is in there for me? that's their primary motive.
Okay.
Yes. And hardly do you see most of our youth engage in volunteer programs or services.
Okay.
Yes, because there are a lot of volunteer activities. Presently, outside my work, I volunteer for an NGO, the Shepherd Mentorship Foundation in Abuja.
Okay.
I've been involved in volunteering activities, Engine, that's Educating Nigerian Girls in New Enterprise, which is a project under Mexico, Nigeria. I did that during my NYC, and shortly after that, I had the opportunity to also join another NGO, which is the Shepherd Mentorship Foundation.
Okay.
Now, all these volunteering activities, most of them are non-profits.
Okay.
You get,
yes.
But our youth today, it's like, what is in there for me? So they hardly do something for free. There must be an additional incentive attached. I think it's something that we need to change that narrative. We need to change the perception, because it's not everything that has to do with money. It's not everything that has to do with, I'm getting some benefits from it. And another thing is the fact that our society, parents of nowadays, based on how this present generation, our youth, were raised, you get now, we live in a society whereby the mom and the dad, they, in quotes, tend to act like the hero in the house or in the family.
Okay.
Yes, from childhood, anything the child asks or requests for, all of a sudden, daddy shows up and he gets it.
Okay.
And daddy does not take out time to actually let the child know the source of the income, what he has done, or how he has actually, worked for it.
Okay.
You get that. So we believe that, as a youth, by the time we, most things must be given to us. You understand? This is our rights, because that's what is actually trending right now. They look at it like it is our rights, we demand it, or we should get it, and that is why the so-called, like you said, the Yahoo, it's becoming prevalent in our society. These get rich monies, Ponzi schemes. You understand? All those things are actually trending because our youths, to an extent, we are not patient.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like you to add to that.
Okay.
Or are you in?
I am totally not in sync with his.
Okay. So let's hear your own opinion.
Well, like I said earlier, that the Nigerian youth is daily assailed by myriad of challenges.
Okay.
And to be fair to the Nigerian youth, what basically is the fraction, the percentage of Nigerian youths that are into Yahoo as compared to the Nigerian youth you see on the streets every day, walking and breaking their backs to make a living. So we cannot make a blanket statement or call the dog a bad name in order to hide it.
Okay.
While we agree that some misguided elements among the Nigerian youths are driven and are ailed by an ailment that does not just affect a particular section but the larger society.
Okay.
Get rich quick, instant gratification. Basically, I stand to be corrected. Years and years of social collapse.
Okay.
So we cannot hinge that on the Nigerian youth and crucify him. So get rich quick syndrome is largely a problem with our society. The youths are naturally affected by that societal ailment. But I would like to always disagree wherever I find myself that the larger majority of Nigerian youths are driven by fraud or get rich quick. Go to the street and see a lot of Nigerians. Go to the market, you see a lot of Nigerian youths. Go to our universities. See, youthfulness suggests vigor. It suggests energy. Now, what do you do with energy? You deploy it. Now, any energy or strength or vigor that is not deployed will always naturally find another way to express itself. That is where vices come in.
Okay.
So while I am not holding brief that the Nigerian youth should be spoon-fed, I am also saying that we should have a conscious policy and program to streamline and direct the Nigerian youth in a way that will better him as an individual and society at large.
Okay. So now, do you want to add to that?
For me, from the way I look at this, I'm looking at it from the two-sided you get now. You know, like I always believe that there is always the two sides of the coin. Like I did say, the instant gratification. But you will agree with me that yes, on the larger society, it is not majority of all Nigerians, but it's like it's a matter of choice. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, because why aren't you? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to use you right now.
Okay.
Why aren't you, carried away by the so-called get-rich-quick syndrome? What has actually differentiated you? What has made you to the difference? You get now.
Okay.
Why have you decided that you want to be responsible?
Okay.
You want to contribute to the development of the country.
Okay.
You get now. So it's not everything that we will blame that yes is the system. Of course, the system has its own faults.
Mm-hmm.
You get now.
Okay.
The system has its own faults, but on a larger scale, I stand to be corrected. It's a matter of choice.
Okay.
It's a matter of decisions. There are a lot of people who, in the midst of trying to, they were not born. Let me use the idiom. They were not born with silver spoon, but at the same time, they have decided to be responsible.
Yeah.
The odds were not on their favor, but against all odds, they were still able to push up to do what? To make a living.
Yeah,
living.
responsible. Okay. So it's a matter of choice. Now, viewers, you can start sending in your comments. It's really getting hot in here. It's getting interesting, so you can start sending in your comments, questions, and suggestions on this program. Now, I have some already, so I'm going to thank you. I can see so many people streaming live with us. So you can still connect by going to Facebook, search for NOA River State, and click on the like button. I have from Mr. Bekimbo Williams. He said youths are always ready to be fitted into the society, but when government fails to recognize their values, they find a way of survival. You were saying something like that, that they have so much energy in the inside of them, and so when they don't have where to put it in, they look for other channels to pass it on to, and that's what leads to vices in our society. I have from Iwani Lama Brown. He says, "Good morning, all. Some of the Nigerian youths are facing a challenge of lack of self-realization and his priorities with a mind of what he can get rather than what he can contribute. Always comparing himself with those who have worked to achieve greater heights." That's the part you were trying to come from. That's instant gratification. They don't. Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that it's not like right from time when I was in school, I was made to understand that you have to think of what you can do for Nigeria. Okay. Not what Nigeria can do for you.
Okay.
So that's the mindset we as a youth should be able to carry.
And this idea of comparing themselves with those people that have worked, if I worked for 20 years, and I've been able to achieve what I can achieve, I can even in the Nigerian context, I can call myself a youth. In the Nigerian context, right? Yeah. I'm a youth, right? Okay, right. So, I've worked and I've achieved I'm a young person. Okay, work with that. I'm a young person, not a youth. Okay. Now, I've been able to achieve a little, of what I can achieve. And then the boy that just graduated from university and sees, how can I should be able to drive a Lexus Jeep, you understand, and all that, comparing themselves with that. And these are the things that lead to the vices in our society today. And maybe a young person also, maybe just graduated from university, was able to get a good job, maybe because I also mentioned about the courses we do, You understand? There's no I don't know how to put it.
The life skills.
The life skills
are not really taught in the classroom.
Yeah, thank God for entrepreneurial courses now that are being taught in our universities. And then he sees that young person, driving a fancy car and will want to get to that level without knowing that person has worked for a number of years. He has paid his price. You understand? So comparing themselves with other people. I have so many comments coming in, so I'd like to take them one by one, and then we can go on to talk about what you think the youth can do to impact upon this nation. Okay, let's talk about I have from Linda Wariso. When the youth realize they are leaders of tomorrow and not boy to the old politicians. I think that's a reply to someone's comment. I told you he's getting hot in here. And I have from Stenibo Adie. He says the thought pattern of the Nigerian youth has been greatly distorted by the socio-economic and political realities. Do you agree?
Totally.
Okay, why?
To point something out, I think we must, while taming the excesses of the Nigerian youth, we must not criminalize ambition.
Okay.
It is okay to want to be anything.
Mm-hmm.
It is okay to want to be anything, but not at the detriment of society.
Okay. Can you repeat what you said?
I said we must be careful while taming the excesses of the Nigerian youth, not to criminalize ambition.
Okay.
It is okay to be anything or wish to be anything you want to be, but not at the detriment of society.
Okay.
That is where we get it wrong.
Okay.
Some people want to make all the money and they are not coming up with creative ideas.
Okay.
They are rather thinking of how to take away from others without commensurate value being added to their victims, as it were.
Okay.
So that is what we frown out.
Okay.
But if the Nigerian youth today wants to buy a private jet and he's coming up with ideas that could better society while at it, why not?
Yeah, that's good.
Nobody quarrels with that.
Okay.
So some Nigerian youths are that driven.
Okay.
While we think of the Yahoo, we also know some Nigerian youths are making giant strides in the ICT world.
Okay.
And so we should also try to create a balance between those.
Okay. So now let's go on. The main topic now. How do you think the Nigerian youth can impact on the economic development of our nation? How?
Okay, I think the Nigerian youth, basically, we must accept that youthful energy, youthful vigor needs to be guided.
Okay.
We must not expect them to grow like weeds. They have to be tailored. They have to be streamlined. They have to be directed.
Okay.
I think that the problem, the challenge with youth empowerment, especially as it affects the Nigerian state, since independence, has been a case of we desiring omelets, but yet we are averse to breaking eggs.
Okay.
How do you have omelets without breaking eggs?
Without breaking eggs, okay.
So we should stop this window dressing. Societies that we tend to compare ourselves with have basically shown that the most viable way for socio-economic development and engagement in society is agriculture. Okay. So as long as we continue to come up with some 20,000, 30,000 naira policy for young people, we're just going to give them something to eat and go back to their deprivation, frustration.
No, but I want to cut you in. Are these youths ready to go into agriculture? Are they ready?
Well, you see, sometimes the youths might not be ready to train themselves, as it were, in some cases.
Okay.
But I think when the youth is directed and the youth begins to see direct benefits.
From it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, there's this policy I've been thinking. You talked about your NYSC and you volunteering during. I think one of the key ways the government can really get the youth engaged, most youths don't want to teach.
Okay.
But when you are deployed, you go to teach.
Okay.
And I think that the NYSC as a teacher production factory, annual teacher production factory, has expired. It has outlived its usefulness.
Okay.
Now the NYSC should be used as a platform for massive agricultural revolution.
Okay. Because
the NYSC as a teaching factory that produces teachers per annum for our schools has been counterproductive.
Okay.
In that, we agree that today the quality of graduates and this it's a little not top notch.
Okay.
So when you have those people being deployed to go and teach, a child in SS1 before he gets to SS3, he has met like 3 or 4 half-baked. Maybe out of the 3, he has had one good teacher. The child himself, that child, if he has 3 economic teachers, that child is confused.
Okay. Because
the one that comes today is good, the one that comes tomorrow is not too good, the one that comes is good. So I think, like Chairman Mao, we talk about China, we talk about Singapore. China in the 50s was not much better than Nigeria.
Okay.
But Chairman Mao came with a policy. He called it the Great Leap Forward. While a lot of people have had issues with it, especially with the human rights records of it and all that, nobody has disputed the fact that it took China to where China is today as a world power, economic power. Singapore too is the same thing. So I think if the NYSC can be deployed more as a agro-based, you move them normally the way you deploy another, but now they are not deployed to schools. We should get our teachers to teach our children basically, so we do not run this cycle of mediocrity. We should deploy them to farms, national farms, where each Nigerian youth is taught how to till the soil, how to grow crops, how to rear animals, and when you leave your NYSC program after a year, you have a basic life skill in agriculture while you are producing for the nation.
Okay. So what's your take on that? How do you think the Nigerian youth can impact on the nation's economic development?
All right. Before we go into that, we have to look at the issues that have actually plagued the Nigerian youth. So looking at those issues will now help us to prefer the solutions on how the youth can be of good contribution or benefit to the economy. One of it is the fact that the government should, as a matter of urgency and importance, start engaging the decision young makers of tomorrow in the development decision of today. You get that?
Suggest a way.
Yes, because our system of running governance, the youth are not carried along. The youth are not actively involved in decision-making process. I know that even before I was born, I keep saying, the youth or the children are the future leaders of tomorrow. The future leaders of tomorrow. Now, if they are not carried along, if they are not involved, if they are not engaged in policy making, how can the nation move forward? The truth of the matter is that Nigeria, as a country, our population, we are over 200 million, and out of that 200 million, the Nigerian youth constitutes about 70 to 80% of that ratio. So it simply means that every policy that the government makes, at the end of the day, whether good or bad, the greater mass, which is the youth, ends up becoming the receiving end. And so it simply means that the government must intentionally come up with mechanisms and blueprints on how to carry the youth along. When it comes to decision making, when it comes to policies. Our youth, we are not so much interested in politics. Why? Because most of the policies that is being enacted or coming over the government are not things that whereby the youth are carried along. So we see that when it comes to voting, when it comes to the election and all of that, the youth are, to an extent, we are gradually getting uninterested in politics. We are gradually getting uninterested in politics. The reason is that the policies that is being enacted or that is being that comes up by the government does not in any way carry the youth along.
Okay.
Now, in response to what he said, that the NYSC, I beg to differ slightly in that. The NYSC, before now, while I was in school, I was one of those persons that believed that the NYSC should be scrapped and all that. I wasn't really looking forward to going for service. I just felt, why not? Because over time, it was like a debate. Even the plenary house, the House of Senate, they have actually debated such. Should the NYSC scheme be scrapped, or has it overlived its existence, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got into it, I began to see the benefit of it. Mind you, it is not every youth or not every Nigerian graduate that is being deployed to teaching. You get? I wasn't deployed to teaching, but I could say that in the course of my NYSC, I still had to go and teach because of my the volunteer, because it was rudimentary that I had to go to school.
Okay.
But that was not my PPA. You get now? What is the essence of the graduates? You study engineering, you studied medicine, and at the end of the day, everybody should be should be going to the farm.
Okay.
So at that point in time, it's more like the reason or the essence where you have spent 4, 5, or even 6 years in the university have not really been achieved.
Okay.
How do you make use of the skills you've actually gotten in school as an engineer, as a doctor, as a pharmacist, if everybody must go to the farm?
Okay, so what's your suggestion? What's the way forward?
So the way forward is, presently the NYSC is actually doing well, but like I did say, the government must be deliberate now.
Okay.
Our government has to be deliberate when it comes to, and intentional when it comes to decision making, and make sure that the youth are carried along when it comes to policies that affect the nation and the society at large.
Okay, so now we've talked about you suggesting that we should deviate from.
Mind you, I also when it comes to agriculture.
Okay. Are you in support of that?
Of course, I am in support of it.
Okay.
But it's not like everybody must go into agriculture.
Okay.
I have some agricultural skills. I'm a snail farmer, a snail consultant, and I learned that in school.
Okay.
During my final year, it was part of my entrepreneurship program that I actually learned in school.
Okay.
And through that, I've been able to help people to to establish their own snail farms.
Okay.
So it's not like I'm actually totally overruling the fact that agriculture is important.
Okay.
Agriculture is good, it's vital. Like you say, there's a need for us to diversify our economy. We need to go beyond hydrocarbon or oil and gas.
Okay.
Agriculture is one good way.
One good way. Okay. So what other ways do you think that our youth can be carried along?
Okay. Let me just correct something.
Okay.
I'm a fan of the NYSC. I think it has served a purpose in breeding, fostering national unity and integration.
Okay.
However, what I suggested was not for the scrapping of the NYSC.
No, I didn't say that. I said it was my own perception before.
Okay. I was saying that it should be reviewed.
Okay.
I know that not everybody goes to teach. I'm not also saying everybody should go to farm. But I'm saying that right now when you say NYSC and deployed, the first thought is some school somewhere in some village. Now it should be some farm somewhere in the village.
Okay.
So we should get that as an agricultural policy. That is just my suggestion, by the way. So having said that, I think some other way that the youths can be engaged, like he said, was to be carried along in policy making.
Okay.
However, we also know that you don't just go to where they make policies. You have to be invited. You have to grow through the ranks.
Okay.
So nobody will just say, oh yeah, Nigerian youths, come, let's make policy. So the youths too have to be deliberate in climbing the leadership ladder.
Okay, how?
However, he said the youths are becoming more disillusioned with the electoral system.
Okay.
I would think that from the last 2-3 elections, we've seen that the youths have been deliberate in wanting to effect changes. And to the the chagrin of many youths, they found out that regardless of how they come out in rain and shine to attempt to steer the direction of the electoral process, it appears that those who count the votes have the final say.
Yeah, okay.
Because if it is by coming out, I think that with that voter apathy, we are trying. The National Orientation Agency, for instance, we go out to talk.
Yeah.
So people are trying to embrace the electoral process. But we are calling that other stakeholders in the process too should make the Nigerian youth clearly see that this change they want, they can effect it with the power of their tongue.
Okay.
When the youth sees that he cannot effect it with the power of his tongue, they seek other ways.
Other ways, okay.
So I am saying that government again should engage the Nigerian youths in a way that will make them stakeholders
Okay.
in the electoral process, which is the factory of leadership in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you.
Let me add to
Yes,
what you said.
absolutely. We just have a little, that 3 minutes left to go. So
Talking about the electoral process, don't you think it's high time we, Nigeria, we moved from the manual thumb printing to digital? Because I've been opportune to interact with other young Nigerians, and like the previous election, the 2019 election, I know about a couple of persons who decided not to vote. Why? Because they say they don't trust the electoral process of the rigging and a whole lot. Okay. So for me, I think it's high time like INEC should start thinking about employing the digital platform when it comes to voting, whereby at the end of the day, when you vote, that same day, the results is being called and you see your votes.
Okay.
It's not a matter of, okay, in the next 2 or 3 days, they are still collecting results. And in the process of still collecting results, a lot of things are happening behind the scenes.
Okay.
And that is why up till now, every time we have election, the European Union, different associations, US, UK, they keep sending observers. Why are they coming to send observers? Why? Because the fear of rigging election. How often does the US or how often does the developed countries, they have their election, and then Nigeria will send observers to go and observe their own election?
Okay.
You get now? So if we're able to embrace the digital platform, and moreover, I have looked at it that it's going to even be cost effective.
Yeah.
The government spent billions of naira, billions invested when it comes to election. 2019 election, how much was budgeted for the election? Billions. But if we move to the digital platform, it's going to be less cost effective at the comfort of your homes.
Okay.
We know how many people that lost their lives by coming out to go and vote.
Okay.
So in the comfort of your homes, you can actually stay, you vote, and then you see your vote count.
Okay.
So in that process, that will now begin to stir up the youth, and they will begin to believe, and will now have
believe in the system again.
Start believe that the system can work.
Okay. So thank you, viewers, for streaming live with us today. We wish we can continue. Our time is up. But you can catch up on our previous episodes by going to YouTube, search for NOA Rivers State, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you, Mr. Christopher Lumudu. I wish we could continue. And thank you, Mr. Obaru Umukoro. It has been hot out here, and in short, I wish we could continue. I remain Mrs. Esanjume Richard Halliday, your presenter on this program. This is a program of the National Orientation Agency, Rivers State, Nigeria.